Hi, you're watching TechCrunch TV. I'm Colleen Taylor. Here joining us via Skype from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, are Wayne Grayson and Brian Reynolds. They're staffers at the Tuscaloosa News, a newspaper in Alabama that just won a Pullitzer Prize this week for its coverage of breaking news during a tornado that devastated the area in late April 2011. Hi, Wayne and Brian. How are you?
Good.
Hey, Colleen, how are you doing today?
Good. And so I understand that this Pulitzer Prize was awarded. This is one of the first years that tweets were taken into account when awarding the Pulitzer Prize for breaking news. And you two had a big part in Tuscaloosa News's adoption of Twitter as a way of reporting. Can you explain to me what happened?
Well, a couple of weeks before the storm, we had kind of Twitter how-to lessons with a lot of the staff members. Several people had already picked up on it and started using it pretty aggressively from a work standpoint. Wayne was really good about that, and the members of our sports staff were very good about that because of the nature of covering Alabama football. What we were really aiming to do is demonstrate the benefits of the service from a news standpoint to the rest of the staff, other people in the newsroom, everyone from copy editors to other reporters. So we really kind of went over just the basics of it, that some people who weren't, I guess, on top of everything in technology could pick up on how to use the service better and kind of taught them the benefits of it. And when the storm hit and, some people didn't have power, they couldn't get a computer on, couldn't get a TV on, they were really relying on just their smartphones and just their Twitter feeds to know where they could get help, where they could go help others, and the extent of the disaster in the city.
Great. And Wayne, I want to ask you, because I know that you cover technology a lot at the Tuscaloosa News. And can you talk a little bit about how you saw other reporters adopting this thing that you had probably been very familiar with for a while?
Yeah, I mean, when I got here to the news and I started, I wasn't a Twitter user before I actually started working here. So I had an account. It was one of those accounts that, for a long time were infamous Twitter accounts, the ones that people started, tweeted once, and then left alone. And then when I started working here, I found this utility for it. And I found that people were really responsive to it. People would actively seek me out and ask me questions. So I saw the utility in it from the very beginning, and I was doing my best to kind of persuade my coworkers of that. And when we had eventually we had kind of a workshop where we got together, and me and Brian taught it. And there were still pretty, a lot of older guys with the organization were still pretty skeptical. A lot of old school, I don't need the internet type of kind of mindset. And still getting used to a lot of the new technologies, and tweeting did not, let's say, it didn't pique their interest very much. But we were able to get it into their hands, and we were able to get them to start kind of like fiddling with it, kind of feeling out, get an account started. And they finally found a use for it right after the tornado, and they just started using it. And really, I told them in that meeting, you're not going to completely understand how powerful this tool is until you start to use it, until you start, actually applying it to a situation. And it really came alive. The service really kind of came alive for us in that situation. I was out in the field, and I had posted a couple photos, and I actually had to turn notifications off on my phone because it was just bing, 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 bing. Every other second, I was getting a new follower or a retweet or a reply. And seeing that response, I knew how useful it was, and that was the reason I was, using the tool in the first place. But really, I think the tool not only came alive for us, but it came alive for the rest of the community, because out of those tweets, people started to see, hey, people are gathering in this space to kind of share information, and they started using it to coordinate volunteer services and where to send donations and all other really cool. So it was actually really cool to watch not only our newsroom kind of embrace that technology, but the rest of the community as well.
Right, and obviously the Pulitzer Prize wasn't just for your tweets.
Right.
You guys had a lot of great coverage, photos and stories on your website and in the paper. Can you explain how this all came together, and maybe how you decided what to tweet and what to hold back? I mean, did you hold anything back?
I mean, personally, from me, I didn't hold anything back. I mean, I was literally walking down the street, taking pictures of things and posting them immediately, and then trying to when I would get back, I would kind of gather my thoughts and put it into a traditional story that I would submit as soon as I could. So like I said, and I think that was really the mentality that everyone kind of worked under when it came to Twitter. No one was saying, "Well, I better not say that because I need that in my story. I need a juicier story." It was really there were too many people asking for the information who were looking to our Twitter accounts specifically for that information for us to hold it back. So, but yeah, that is an interesting question because before this event, there was some of that discussion in these Twitter workshops that we had. So what's an appropriate tweet? What's appropriate to hold back for a news story? But when we were in the moment, it was just whatever you see, whatever you can tell everybody, go ahead and get the information out there, and then do your traditional reporting at a later time whenever you can get in front of a computer.
And beyond just the individual tweets from people like Wayne and Aaron Suttles, Stephanie Taylor, people who were out in the damage, the Tuscaloosa News account really acted as a hub for the city during the storm, and then for the first couple of days afterwards, because I was trying to keep a pretty close eye on that, and people were tweeting at us, which we were pushing back out. Emergency personnel, from what we were told, were relying pretty heavily on our Twitter account to know where to go, where they needed to provide help. And other people in the community were relying on it to know where they could go to provide help to others also. There was a real community outpouring during the storm and then immediately afterwards, and the Tuscaloosa News account really became a hub for a lot of that.
Even on one of my days off, I remember sitting there and wanting to work so badly that I just sat there in front of TweetDeck on a laptop and just answered questions from the Tuscaloosa News account, because you could literally do that for hours. It's just question after question after question. I talked to people from all over the country and all over the world really too, sending their thoughts or wondering where to take a semi-truck full of clothes, or where's the drop-off point for drinks. And it literally was, you had something to do all the time in that first week after the storm.
Right. And then obviously, so it sounds like you got a lot of great feedback immediately. You realized on April 27th, 2011, that Twitter was valuable. But then what was it like this week to also get recognized from the Pullitzer committee for what you did?
It was pretty phenomenal. Everyone was hopeful when we applied, but nobody really wanted to talk about it because we didn't want to jinx it. But as soon as the first person saw listed on their website that we had won, there was just a shouting all around the newsroom, and everyone was ecstatic. It was pretty incredible, and we appreciated the job that we did and knew how much it helped the community. But to get that national recognition, especially in the form of a Pulitzer, was pretty amazing for everyone here.
And for me, for a long time after the storm, it was actually pretty hard for me to actually be able to separate, what I was doing as just, it seemed to me as just, it was just a normal reaction with somebody with the responsibility that I'd been given. Who else, what else would you do in that situation? So, what the Pulitzer was for me, and it was kind of overwhelming because after the announcement, I actually took some time to look back at our submission. And for the first time, I really was able to kind of take some pride in what we did. Not to say that I didn't think the work was good. It was just that in the moment, it just seemed like reaction instead of kind of something that you could evaluate at a later date. It just seemed like it was, flowing in such an organic way, such real time. But what the Pulitzer for me meant was being able to go back and really appreciate, and even like our Twitter submission, which was organized by one of our page designers, Shweta Gamble. The way she organized that information probably had a lot to do with our submission in general. But going back over that and looking at that, I was just, for the first time, able to just be proud of the work we did as a whole. So for me, it was kind of a bittersweet moment.
And I want to ask you, for anybody, working in an organization that might have some, incumbent traditions that aren't really adopting social media, do you guys have any advice for people within that organization that might want to encourage the use of things like Twitter, just being that you two taught that class?
The biggest issue is just to demonstrate the value. I think this is a good example of that. If you tell people, hey, you need to do this, but don't show them a reason why, they're just going to think, oh, it's just a waste of my time. I'll keep doing the way things or doing things the way I've always done them. But if you can really show how valuable it is and what a great tool it is, they're going to be a lot more likely to pick up on it and really embrace it.
Yeah, and kind of speaking to Brian's point, it's one of the things that I'm kind of most proud of with this award. If you look at the list of past winners in this category, which is relatively new, though, it's larger papers that win it. It's the New York Times, it's the Washington Post, it's the Seattle Times, it's the Los Angeles Times. And they're all really large and very important events. And for us to not only be a small paper, but for us to be one of the first to win, and a lot of it be because of our social media use and using that as a tool, it's kind of cool because I feel like we're proof that this is a valuable tool, and not just because we won an award, as cool and great as it is, but it's because that we were able to help people. We were actually able to spread information. And whenever I see kind of like some of the Twitter team or the guys that kind of created that tool, I think about some of the goals they had in mind in the beginning, and it seems like those are living out situation after situation. Those are flushing out, and so hopefully we kind of serve as some kind of proof that there is so much value in this tool moving forward, and there's a lot more potential just to be discovered.
Great. Cool. Well, Wayne and Brian, thank you so much for joining us from Tuscaloosa and telling us your story, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thanks.